We're good. Okay, hi everybody. Thank you for joining us today for this presentation. My name's Sam Denniff. I work for a drone company called Copters, and we've got Kyle Burke here as well with us from Northamptonshire Search and Rescue. So today we're going to go through drones and their use in public safety, focusing more on the search and rescue side of things. So it's a wide-ranging topic. There's a lot we could go into, so we're going to try and cover as much as we can in the time we've got. We're going to do about 20-25 minutes running you through some stuff in the presentation, and then we have got a live demonstration outside, so you'll have the opportunity to go out and see a drone flying out in the stadium, or you can stay in here and see the live feed from the drone on the screen as well. So we'll get started. So firstly, a quick introduction from me, and then we'll get an intro from Kyle as well. So as I said, my name is Sam Denniff. I'm the Business Development Manager in Public Safety and Defence for Copters. Copters started off as a marine engineering company in 1999, moved into the drone world about 6 years ago, and I've been with the company since the start, so just under 6 years. So what we sort of pride ourselves on and what we want to do is revolutionise organisations using drones. So we're not a service provider. We don't come in and do any sort of drone operations. We supply equipment, training, software, support, servicing, all that kind of stuff around the kit. So if you've got a drone team and you want to make it larger, or you're an organisation that wants to bring a new drone team into the organisation, train people up, that's where we come in and help people do that. So we provide full 360 drone solutions in the UK. Our main industries that we work in are obviously public safety, that's why we're here, but also inspection and survey. So that is anything from large-scale engineering companies looking to do mapping and surveying, to critical infrastructure, to renewables, all that kind of stuff is the other kind of side of the business. But focusing on public safety, we work with the majority now of UK police and fire in terms of supplying drone equipment. We've moved into working in the defence space with the MOD, with off-the-shelf drone solutions as well, and we work with search and rescue teams and private security as well. And we're the only UK training body that offers off-qual approved courses both to individuals and organisations. So when we train up a drone team, they don't just get, here's your ticket and off you go and fly, they get a fully accredited qualification as well. So just to quickly go through some applications in public safety. Obviously the main sort of reason we want people to use drones is to reduce risks, to save time and to save money, ultimately to save lives as well. And this is something we're going to get Kyle to talk about a little bit further on. So what drones allow an organisation to do is they give a larger degree of flexibility. So we want to give support in two main areas, and that is your pre-planned larger drone systems, and then your smaller, quick deploy, quick response systems, the likes of which are used more in the search and rescue world. And we'll go into a couple of options for both of those in a second, and then you'll see one of the larger pre-planned systems out there. So what we want to do is increase situational awareness by using drones, give you real-time data, but also save data which can be analysed and give maps and models used for training, all that kind of stuff, as well as being used in the field for real-time missions. And I've got a list there of some examples of use cases. The most relevant one for here is that search and rescue side, so spotting heat signatures of people, zooming in on those and seeing whether it's someone that might be lost and that kind of stuff, tracking individuals, tracking vehicles, and then there's huge applications in terms of more covert stuff like surveillance as well within the policing world. So these are the two main hardware options which we currently supply. We are drone manufacturer agnostic, so we're not just a supplier of one manufacturer's kit. We supply from a range of manufacturers, but these are the ones we're focusing on within the public safety market. So the first one there, the quick response, is the Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced, which we've got on our stand just back there. It's stand A12. And then we've got the pre-planned mission drones as well, which is the larger systems, which is the one we've got outside. I think we've got a bit more of a breakdown of these two systems here. So the quick response system, this is the one that Kyle's team is actually using. So it might be a good point now, Kyle, just to introduce what you guys are doing,
Okay,
and then we'll carry on from there.
Yeah, so I'm Kyle Burke, search planner for Northamptonshire Search Rescue. We're a search and rescue charity that support the police in the search for high-risk missing people. We realised that kind of as times are changing, we needed to become a bit more technologically advanced. So we approached Coptrs to help us with the search for a drone, really. It kind of helps us to very quickly deploy in large open areas that previously would have been covered by the police air service. It kind of saves on the deployment and the cost to the police for that kind of thing. And it also allows us to just very quickly get up and set up really and go and search for those missing people. So we approached Coptrs for some help with that because we didn't really know what drones were out there, what the capabilities were. And the reason for us picking this is the thermal capability of it and its size and portability.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we kind of classify it as quick response, is because Kyle's team, there might be a larger, more capable drone which perhaps would work better in isolation for what they do, but it would take them a lot longer time to set up. You wouldn't be able to lug it through a field, or you wouldn't want to lug it through a field. You want something small and portable and easy to deploy, and that's why this kind of kit fits really well with what these guys do. And again, we'll go into this in a bit more detail slightly later on. But yeah, the main benefits are listed there. So they are a lot more discreet. You can have modes where you turn off all the lighting, for example, and they're a lot quieter than larger systems. Much easier and quicker to deploy. They have a range of attachments. So on the system we've got on our stand, we've got a spotlight and a speaker system. So obvious applications for stuff like the speaker will be to tell someone not to panic. You fly the drone up and tell them not to worry, someone will be with them in 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it may be. If you're doing a search and rescue mission, potentially to tell someone to stay where they are because they might injure themselves or put themselves at further risk by trying to move towards the drone or move towards where they can hear people coming from, and just to sit tight. And then the spotlight, obviously for searches at night, which can be used with the thermal camera, and I think Kyle's got a great example of that, which we'll jump onto that slightly later on, of where the spotlight's been used. They're also a lot more affordable, which is obviously important. So the smaller systems do tend to be cheaper than the larger ones. It is because they're slightly less capable, but then if you can get 2, 3, 4 of the smaller systems compared to one of the larger ones, perhaps that works better if you've got loads of vehicles you want to put them in and spread the system out across a larger area. So just a couple of we don't want to go too much into the technical details of the specific drones, but to give you an idea of what this kit can do if you're not familiar with drone technology. Something like the Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced, a flight time of 31 minutes, that's fairly standard across the drone industry for drones of this size. So depending on your experience with drones, that might not sound like a lot, but it certainly is. It's moved on so much in the past 4 or 5 years that we're getting towards that flight time on these really small, really compact drones. And as with all technology, everything's getting smaller and more powerful. So when you would have had to have a much more expensive, larger, slower flight time drone to have this kind of sensor, you can now have something small and compact with a longer flight time with a sensor just as good as 5 years ago, a drone that's this big. You can launch them in under 60 seconds. That is with a bit of practice. It might take you, I don't know if you guys are at 60 seconds yet.
Yeah, probably about that, yeah.
Yeah. So a bit of practice, you can get them in the air in 60 seconds. You can get specific cases. You can have them sort of almost ready to go out of the box, fold the legs out and chuck it in the air. Transmission range is 10 kilometers. That's a range you'll never fly the system to. It's a bit like having a car that can do 200 miles an hour. You're never going to do that legally, but it can be good to know it can do it if you need to, so that when you're driving at 70 miles an hour, it's going to be nice and quiet and comfortable. If you're flying your drone at half a kilometre, which is sort of the legal range you'll fly at, you know you can have a really good connection if you could then push that drone out to 10 kilometres theoretically. So the signal strength on these now is top level. Weight, it's under 1 kilo in weight, so super light. It's got a 48 megapixel visual camera and a 640x512 thermal camera. If that doesn't mean much to you, on the thermal side, that is about as high resolution as you can get on a commercial, sort of non-military standard drone at the moment. Probably similar or higher level to most handheld thermals you'll use in any other industry. And it does have a 32 times optical zoom as well, so you can zoom in on targets that are 200-300 meters away and get a pretty good clear image, whether that's people or vehicles. Okay, so on to the slightly larger systems. Now this is the one that we're going to have flying outside. So one of the main benefits with these is on the previous system, you get the drone as it comes and that is your kit, you can't upgrade it. Now with these you can plug on different payloads. So you can start off with just a simple visual camera, you can upgrade to one that's thermal and visual, you can have cameras that are built specifically for mapping, you can have LiDAR systems, you can have gas detectors, you can have spotlights, speakers, you can have drop boxes, all kinds of stuff, all within the same platform. So you can start off with something really simple and cheap and upgrade it as you progress. They're also, generally they tend to be IP rated so they can fly in poor weather. This one here we've got is IP45. Unfortunately it isn't raining. We did ask them to turn the sprinklers on outside, but I don't think they're too happy to do that, so we're going to have to fly it in the dry, but there we go. But if it was raining, we'd be happy to put the drone up. The imagery won't be affected, and it's able to fly in some pretty bad conditions. With the smaller drones, that's not something you get, and again, that might be a limitation you guys have with what you've got. Mm-hmm. But the benefits sometimes outweigh the negatives, don't they? So, you've got a longer flight time as well. This one, for example, even with a couple of heavy payloads, will fly for about 45 minutes. They are technically safer. They have more redundancy features. So if there's an issue with a failure in the GPS system or within the internal computing, these larger systems have all kinds of redundancies built in. So any failures, and they'll continue to fly. You do tend to get greater image and data quality. That's just because you've got bigger payloads that you can put onto these cameras. And they have a larger range of operational features. So all of these drones at this level, to an extent, effectively fly themselves, because they've got all kinds of AI and collision avoidance built in. So once you've got it in the air, you can sit and be relatively hands-free with how you operate. These ones take that to the next level. You can plan in waypoints, you can fly via AI, you can track objects, all this kind of stuff, which makes it easier for a pilot who isn't by any means an expert in using drone technology, because their day job is something else, something more important. But they can still get a lot out of the drone kit without having to do weeks and days of training. So again, a few more specs on this larger system. So Matrice 300 RTK is the name of the drone, and then H20T is the name of the payload, the camera, the one we've got outside. So yeah, flight time is 55 minutes without any payloads. As I said, around 45 when you add a couple of payloads on. You can add 3 payloads in total, so I've seen this used with one big camera, the H20T, with a thermal and visual, a spotlight mounted next to that, and then a speaker system mounted on top. So you can have 3 payloads built all in around the drone. Transmission range for this is 15 kilometers. Again, similar to the previous drone, you're never going to use it to that range, but it's good to know it can do it. With this one as well, you can daisy chain controllers. So if we were to put the drone up in the stadium here, have someone stood with a controller 10 kilometers away, the pilot could fly the drone from here over to that location. That controller could take control of the drone and carry on flying it. So technically at the moment, this technology can do a lot more than the legislation allows it to do. At the minute, all that is limited by a pilot has to always be able to see the drone, always be in control of the drone. It can't go further than 500 meters. I'm simplifying slightly, but the legislation is the thing that's stopping us pushing this kit to the next level at the moment. In terms of the payloads for the camera, the thermal camera is the same resolution as the smaller one, and that links back to what I was saying about the kit now. Although it's getting smaller, it's getting as powerful as this larger, more expensive equipment. You've got a 23 times optical zoom, but it will carry on to 200 times digital zoom, which is what we'll see when we get it up on the screen. So again, what that means is you could be sat, at that zoom up to 2 kilometers away from a person, a target, a vehicle, and track them and see them and all this kind of stuff. So that is incredible amount of zoom technology that the camera has. And the stabilization to work at that zoom as well, it has to be super, super stable in high winds, and it will sit and zoom in with no problems from there. So I think now... so just quickly go through the training, and then we'll go into you, Carl. So we run a wide range of drone training courses. It's not just training a pilot to operate a drone and then off they go. It's Ofqual accredited, as I said at the start, but we also do industry-specific training. So say from a search and rescue perspective, you're using a drone but you can't interpret the thermal data that drone's spitting out. What we do is we run aerial thermography training courses, so you can interpret that data and make sure that you're getting the cleanest data possible and you're getting more positives. We also do mapping courses, survey courses, all this kind of stuff so that you can get the drone and then start to build your capability from there. So within the training, if you are interested or looking at upscaling a drone team, we do flight training and coaching at 10 locations across the UK. So far we're on just over 6,000 students trained, and that's increasing pretty rapidly. 91% first time pass rate. We do allow resits for the testing as well if anyone has any issues. And we've trained a wide range of companies. We've done training with the MOD, training with a wide range of police forces, fire services, search and rescue teams, but then also in infrastructure and sort of inspection in those industries. We've done a lot of training as well. Oh, we just jumped ahead there. That was the video for the training. We'll see if we can get back to your slide, Kyle. Right, I think we've got it. Apologies if it jumps across again. I think that should stay on. So if you want to run through again what you guys do,
Okay.
ask you a couple of questions on
Sure.
on your kit.
So yeah, we're a team of around 50 people at the moment, and we predominantly cover the Northamptonshire area. We will assist Northamptonshire Police mainly on their search for high-risk missing people. We'll also assist other emergency services such as the fire service and things like that. And we were looking for the drone to kind of be able to deploy quickly to search for those missing people. And the key element for us was that thermal imaging. And that's something that's hugely benefited us on its kind of maiden voyage on an actual search. We managed to locate the missing person using that. At a point when we were told to land because the police air service were going up to try and find the missing person, and then literally at that point we spotted the person and found them. Obviously the cost to the taxpayer as such for NPAS is thousands of pounds an hour. Only a few hours of flight would cover a cost of a drone, and the fact that we don't have to travel 20 minutes to get a drone somewhere. We can just chuck it in a backpack, take it out and pop the drone up. That's made it huge. Like, the efficiency savings for us are massive, and also the extra attachments that you get with the drone. So for example, the spotlight, things like that, that's improved safety for our team members. So when we make finds, it makes it really easy for our teams to be able to see where they're going at night. And for example, we had a job where we had to recover from a river, which is quite a dangerous thing for our teams to be doing at night. We assisted the fire service with that using the spotlight feature on the drone to be able to light the area up, which was kind of an ideal, something that we hadn't even thought of when we looked at getting a drone. So those kind of features have helped us massively in areas that we didn't even know were going to be a problem.
You said something interesting to me earlier today, Kyle, is one worry we get from police, from fire, from search and rescue teams is this is going to replace the way they do things. People are going to be moved away from doing things in traditional methods. And when I put that to you, you mentioned something that I didn't even think of. When you came to us to purchase the kit, I didn't even think of suggesting it as a use case. And you said something about doing training with the dog teams. So you're still using the search dogs, but you're using the drone in conjunction with it. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what you did there?
Sure. Yeah, so we have a team of dogs as well. So we've got 4 search dogs on the team with 3 handlers. And one area that we use the drone for is to assist them with their training so that they can see kind of the body language of the dog. And when the dog ranges away, you can see kind of what the dog is doing from the air. It gives them a great perspective that they're not able to see. So it helps the handler with kind of their training, and also they can tell kind of when the dog has run off and found somebody, that actually they're coming back because they have found somebody. So it helps with that training that, again, it was something that we had not even really thought of. And then when our dog team asked us to kind of help with that sort of thing, it helps us with our training and it also helps them. And that's something that has massively benefited the team as well.
Yeah, good. And you mentioned it just then when you were running through who you guys are, but you obviously went for that, the smaller drone solution, the Mavic Enterprise Advanced. So why did you go for that over, say, any other system of that sort of class, but also a larger drone, or even sticking with what you were doing currently? Why did you decide, or how did you convince your bosses, your board, your committee that was the way to go?
So yeah, I mean, we kind of we went for that specific drone because of, firstly, its size, the portability, the cost as well, and also the fact that the thermal imaging capabilities were the same as, well, even better than a lot of the competition. And also, for example, with the Matrice, that's got a great thermal imaging camera on it, things like that. It's actually just as good as the resolution on the kind of the smaller drone. So the benefits of that smaller drone far outweighed the larger drone. And really the way that we kind of convinced our committee to allow us to have a look at this was just the fact that there's a lot of case studies out there. There's a lot of other teams that are using drones. They are quite new. They're not going to replace people on the ground because the drone can't help rescue somebody. It can just help find them, which ultimately saves lives. The time, we've seen a reduction in time in finding of the missing people, which ultimately leads to their survival being greater. So really, with those kind of statistics, it's hard to say no. We know the work that kind of the NPAS do that help find missing people. We just realised that this would help us a lot quicker and a lot better. And obviously, it won't replace people. It won't replace the foot teams, the dog teams, the swiftwater rescue teams that we've got. It just helps us in many different ways. So it's just something to add to our capabilities rather than replace.
Yeah, and I think that's something we find when talking to emergency services and to search and rescue teams is sometimes they expect this to be a silver bullet. So we give them a drone solution, we train them up, and they then expect to be able to use the drone for everything now. And if they can't use it for everything, they get a bit disappointed. So I think that's really important to state that it's not a silver bullet. You will use it with traditional methods. It can't do everything. There is going to be times, for example, with your drone, I know if the weather's bad, you can't put it up. And there's a few other cases like that where you can't use the drone at all times. But as you've said there, if there's a handful of times you can use it when it makes a difference, or a handful of times you can use it where you might have had to call out NPAS and have a huge cost there, the cost of the drone a couple of times over just for one call out, then it makes it worthwhile. Is there any areas of using your kit where you kind of, if you had a magic wand, what you'd want it to do? You know what I mean? So the future of your drone program, what would you want it to look like?
I think that carrying kit on the drone would be perfect, like being able to carry kind of small first aid provisions, things like that, because often teams may make a find for a missing person and then we've got to deploy a vehicle with our kit on it that they might need. You can't carry everything in your bag on your back. So I think being able to carry small items with the drone, that would be perfect for us, and I think that would be a huge benefit to not just lowland rescue teams like ourselves, but mountain rescue teams as well.
I guess weatherproofing as well would be.
Weatherproofing, yeah, that would be ideal, because even if it's raining a little bit, we can't really fly in that, or if it's really windy, we can't fly as well. So there are limitations to the drone, and as Sam said, it's not a silver bullet, but it does help us in those conditions that are, most of the time, it can fly. There's kind of a handful of times when it can't really, but yeah, being able to fly all the time would be ideal.
Awesome. Well, I think that is everything we've got to go through before the live presentation.